All right, so at this point, we've got drums, bass, and now we're going to work on guitars. I'm going to throw those into the mix. Now, this is yet again another thing that you want to sound good as early as you can. So you want your amps to sound good that you're using, and you want your guitar DIs even to sound good. Believe it or not, having a better sounding guitar, better sounding pickups sounds way, 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 way better than a cheap guitar. Totally different. But it goes a long way. Good pickups on a good guitar, going through a good patch or a good amp that's being mic'd up well, you can't go wrong with it. So let's hear what we have so far. We've got a left and right guitar track, panned hard left, hard right. I'm sending both of these into this aux with bias on it. So let's just hear what the patch sounds like. All right, cool. Sounds pretty good already. It's a good start. I'm actually gonna go up to this bass. When I threw in the guitars, I noticed there was some like build up in this high mid area. All right, sick. All right, so let's go on the EQ. I'm gonna throw an EQ after bias. If you have an actual amp, then you don't have to have a bias, obviously. So this point right here, we're gonna mess around with in regards to bass, and then we're gonna use a low pass. I like to have it around like 10K, something like that. Depends on the amp, depends on the sound. I believe this one actually sounds a little better with it higher because there's some upper end harmonics that come through. All right, that's cool. Something I like to start out with. Guitars usually 4K. You know the drill. Cool, sounds good. A lot of times there'll be some stuff going on around here, but I think because of the patch, it already sounds pretty nice. We can just check. I don't really hear anything bad going on around here, but let's check anyway. No, nothing out of the ordinary. That's totally fine. We might come back to this EQ, but I'm gonna close it out. Let's go to the palm muting part. A lot of times when you palm mute, the low end will build up. So instead of cutting out the low end, we can just compress the low end. So I'm going to pull up Pro MB, which is a multi-band compressor. And this is the area that's going to build up. So I'm going to just make a little band here. So once the low end builds up here, this will squash it. Sweet, that sounds pretty good. I'm gonna boost some upper mid just because I want a little bit more presence on the guitar. I want to cut through a little better. Cool, that sounds pretty good. Another thing we can do that I like to do at least is limit the guitars, especially if they're metal guitars. If they're not, you want a little bit more dynamics. You don't have to do this, but since we just want slamming guitars, we want presence, we want to hear every single note, I'm gonna limit them. Cool, that sounds pretty good. All I did on that EQ, I went back to the EQs. I wanted some more like top into that. So I'm cutting around 4K, so I like to boost it around 8K because they're octaves, just to make up. Sounds pretty good right now. We're gonna do one more thing. But I like to note that mixing guitars is something that really hard. It was really hard for me because I just never wanted to stop tweaking the sound. But it all comes down to getting a good sound at the start. You have to be patient and you have to make sure it sounds awesome at the start. Because if it doesn't, you're just never going to be happy with the sound. You're always going to be boosting and cutting. You're going to want it to sound like something else that it's not. But yeah, let's get on to the last part. And this is something optional as well. I love this sound. So I'm gonna throw a stereo widener on here. This is the best one I've ever heard. I love it so much. It's mono compatible. And you have 3 different modes on here. This is a very subtle mode. This is a little more noticeable. And then this is just full on balls to the wall, left and right, just slamming outside the speakers. Usually don't use this, maybe with synths sometimes, but I've made a preset that I really like. Just a little bit of width. We have tone pushed over here. And what tone does determine what frequencies are being pushed left and right. So the more tone you have, the more high and low end. The less tone, it's going to be just more of the mid-range. So this is going to be without. I'll play it with and without. All right, cool. I think I'm gonna turn the bass down a tad because it's kind of getting in the way. Let's check it out. Cool. All I did was turn the low end of the bass down just now, and then I boosted around 50 hertz, which is out of the way. This is where our kick is, so I'm cutting. This is where our bass is, so I'm boosting. And so I turned it down so there was less of everything. And I boosted this, so there's just more of the subbiness, which comes out below the guitars really nicely. Sounds really good. But that is how I mix most instruments, most rock and metal mixes. That's how I'll start. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. Thanks.